Hello friends, myself Niyati Chauhan, Assistant Professor at LG Institute of Engineering and Technology, Department of Instrumentation and Control. Our subject is Distributed Control System and SCADA. So let's start Chapter 3, Software Configuration. Software Configuration. Programming the instruction is called configuring. So here you can see PIDs are connected with analog input and analog output, which is mounted at field, right? So these field devices are connected with controller and controller data sent to the operator, right? So here you can see PID connected with operator and also connected with control system and also connected with analog input and analog output. Here software configuration is divided into parts. Number 1, operating system configuration, and number 2, controller function configuration. So operating system configuration means first, operating system must be configured to define the composition of groups and overview and define trading layers, to assign highway station priorities, right? And number 2, control function. The individual control function must be programmed to accomplish the control strategy for which the system is used. So let's see in detail operating system configuration. The operating system programming completed by highway systems are configured from the operator station, sometimes using a special keyboards. Files are set up for the various categories of information, and master program open and close the file to use information as it is required. Configuring is usually done offline, that is the control system operators autonomously and are not updated, and the receipt is saved on a disk from which it can be loaded into the operating system and the controller file databases. The information configured for a typical system shown in table. Configuration. That in operating system configuration, programming is done by supplier. So supplier will design some data like highway, right? Priority of station, overview scale, record, okay, message, tag name, tag service, right? So these types of data provided by supplier, because programming done by supplier, right? Highway systems are configured from the operator station, sometimes using special keyboard, right? So distributed control functions entered by configuration. So highway definition. Assign station numbers to various highway stations and define the type of station like controller file, operator station. Okay, so this is known as highway, right? Highway connected with operator station and also connected with controller file, right? Number 2, supplier should define priority of the station and also define overview scale, right? So supplier has to define overview scale. Then he has to define points to be recorded, make a table of unit measure, make a table of messages, define tag name, service information. Okay. Then at last assign points to point, assign points to group display and group display to overview display. Okay. And at last define title of group display and overview display. Right. So this type of configuration done by supplier for operating system. Right. Next, controller function configuration. One of the features that make distributed control system so powerful is their algorithm library, right? So in algorithm library, we know that summation, division, multiplication, square root can be inbuilt in this library. Configuration of the controller function makes use of algorithm. One of two different methods of configuration is used. In first method, the function is configuration of the controller functions makes use of algorithms. One of the two different methods of configuration is in first method, the function is built up from a number of basic algorithms. For example, input module, alarm limit, error detection. The length of the time slot may be variable. Right? Number two, highly structured algorithm. In highly structured algorithm method, each time slot will utilize one highly structured algorithm, which in other method, each time slot will utilize one highly structured algorithm with many smaller algorithms already included, right? So let's see one by one algorithm. Basic algorithm. Process flow diagram. In this diagram, differential pressure transmitter output goes to in square root extraction, right? Means input gets square root function, right? And then this value goes to in flow controller. Okay. From flow controller, signal goes to in comparator, right? Comparator, that means low selective, right? Output is equal to less of input, right? In another side, you know that in flow, right? So here we have connected level transmitter, right? And level transmitter to signal goes to in level controller. This is our set point. So both signal here goes to in comparator, and through comparator we get low selecting signal, and this signal input for control valve, right? So this is a process flow diagram, and this is a one type of basic algorithm. Next is highly structured algorithm, right? So in highly structured algorithm, label signal goes to in PID, right? So this PID also here one more function, that is low set point, right? So this is a closed loop, and then another PID connected with differential pressure signal, right? So here also low set point. Both signal goes to in comparator and comparator through signal sent to the input of control valve, right? So this is a highly structured algorithm. In combined algorithm, we will combine basic algorithm and highly structured algorithm. So you can see in diagram, level signal goes to an input module, right? And from input module to signal goes to in subtractor, right? Algebraic difference of two inputs. So the difference between this input and this input, right? So subtractor to signal goes to in PID and PID to signal goes to in auto manual mode, right? And here then we can't get set value, then again signal in closed loop, right? Then after, if we get set value, then signal goes to in comparator. In another side, differential pressure signal goes to in input module. Then input module to signal goes to in square root extraction, right? Square root extraction, that means output equal the root of the input. Okay. Then output extraction to signal goes to in subtractor. Okay. And subtractor, that means algebraic difference of two input. Okay. Then signal goes to in PID. From PID to signal goes to in auto manual mode. Right. If we get set value, then signal goes to in comparator. Comparator, that means low scaling. Right. And then after signal goes to manual and auto mode. Okay. And then after signal goes to in another device. Okay. So this is a combined algorithm diagram, and here we have used PID function and also used basic algorithms. Okay, we have discussed about algorithms, right? If you have any query related algorithms, then you can ask me. Thank you for listening me.